Hi, I'm Unbound Beartic, thanks for checking out this video. This is a critical book review. I review books by giving them a 0 to 10 in 5 categories: plot, writing, characters, themes and entertaining value. From the average of the numbers I give them a 0 to 10 approval rating. 0 to 2 burn it. 2 to 4 donate it. 4 to 6 skim through it. 6 to 8 finish it. 8 to 10 cherish it. First of all, I'm going to be reviewing a popular novel called City of Bones that was the first novel written by a famous YA fiction author named Cassandra Clare. It's the first book of a long-running franchise called Shadowhunters and the first book of the Mortal Instruments series. It's one of the most popular young adult fantasy novels, was a bestseller and had mainly positive reviews. However, it was adapted as a film in 2013 that flopped and was panned by critics and failed to start a film series. A TV show adapted the novel series and this book made up the first 7 episodes. But it flopped as well and the first season had mixed reviews. Now I'm going to review the book and point out the positives and negatives. First of all, here's some background on the author and book. It was the first book created by Judith Lewis. She writes with a pen name, Cassandra Clare, which she came up with because in college she wrote a short story based on an old novella called The Beautiful Cassandra. After college she started writing her first book City of Bones and she became a journalist who worked on magazines and tabloids and eventually wrote fanfiction of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. She wrote fanfiction such as a trilogy of fanfictions focusing on Draco Malfoy. It had a love dodecahedron involving Draco Malfoy, Harry Potter, Ginny and Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. She also wrote an erotic incestuous fan fiction about Ginny and Ron Weasley called Mortal Instruments. She had issues with the moderators involving cyberbullying, plagiarism and sexually explicit content and deleted her account. However, her fanfictions eventually resurfaced on the internet and she had a few fans. She took ideas from some of her fan fictions and combined them. The result of this was the Mortal Instruments novel series where she created new characters based on her version of Harry Potter characters from her fanfictions. Also, the MacGuffins of the first 3 books are the Mortal Instruments. Artifacts that are similar to the Deathly Hallows from Harry Potter. While other authors chose to write about vampires, witches and demigods, she chose to write about angels, specifically fallen angel-human hybrids called Nephilim, which she reimagined as a race of people called Shadowhunters given power by angels. They fight demons to save the universe. The fantasy world she made has fairies, vampires, werewolves and warlocks in a modern urban fantasy setting, with them being called downworlders because they are oppressed by the Shadowhunters. Her world building is okay, but there's one thing she did that I disagree with. She decided to reimagine warlocks as demon-human hybrids similar to cambions from folklore. I personally think it's stupid to just combine warlocks and cambions. That's like making vampires sparkle. Another issue is the title. The first book is called City of Bones while the second one is called City of Ashes and the third is called City of Glass. The City of Bones and Ashes are actually the same thing, a tomb called the Silent City, and the third one is the setting of parts of the third book that's mentioned in the other 2. Also, the Silent City has very little relevance in the plot, so this is a misleading title. Each book is actually about a different MacGuffin, so better titles would be the Mortal Cup, the Mortal Sword and the Mortal Glass. There had already been multiple books called City of Bones and City of Ashes in the past. Nobody had written books with any of these 3 titles, so honestly, I think she should have gone with these titles. Anyway, let's get into my review. Plot. The plot is basically just setting up the rest of the series. It throws a passive protagonist, Clary Fairchild, into a supernatural world where she falls in love with a Shadowhunter boy named Jace Wayland. The first time she meets him is when she witnesses the Shadowhunters kill a demon at a nightclub. Her mother is kidnapped and she discovers her mother covered up some of her memories of the supernatural that tell where a sacred artifact called the Mortal Cup is. The Institute of Shadowhunters try to unlock Clary's memories of the supernatural at the City of Bones. Their search leads them to the High Warlock of Brooklyn, Magnus Bane, who admits he put the block in her mind but says the memories will have to come back gradually. Clary's friend Simon, who was tagging along with the Institute, is accidentally kidnapped by vampires, thinking he's one of them because he drank a potion that turned him into a rat. The characters raid the vampires' hideout and escape. Clary realizes she has a power to hide objects in 2D sheets of paper and figures out her mother hid it in a witch's tarot cards. They find the cup, but the witch is killed by a greater demon and the demon injures one of their teammates, a boy named Alec Lightwood. The Shadowhunters return the cup to the Institute, but a tutor who's working for a villain named Valentine steals the cup and kidnaps Jace, and Clary tracks him down to a portal site in an abandoned hospital. She teams up with her mother's best friend Luke, who is actually a werewolf. They attack Valentine, who plays mind games with the two main characters, revealing that he's their father and they are siblings, making their relationship incest. Luke kills two of Valentine's companions, but Valentine escapes through a portal. Subsequently, Magnus Bane treats Alec Lightwood and the Institute continues their search for Valentine. The plot has some positive aspects. For instance, the stakes are high as the Mortal Cup is an important artifact to the Shadowhunters people, and in the wrong hands it could be used to create an army. But most of the novel sets up the franchise, introducing the new characters and focuses on Clary finding out who she is. Also, the villain Valentine is foreshadowed throughout the entire book, but he isn't introduced properly until the last few chapters. The characters' actions don't really get anywhere, and a battle with the vampires is poorly thrown in just to introduce the downworlder threat. The writing is in third person, although it follows the protagonist's point of view. This is the same narrative as Harry Potter. It has some good aspects, such as its descriptions of the portal system the characters use. At Magnus Bane's party, it's mentioned that sometimes vampires turn into bats or rats when they're drunk, which both makes sense and is pretty funny. However, the writing has several flaws. This novel is the author's debut, which it's common for an author's first book to not be as good as some of their later works. In the first chapter, the author uses a lot of words and terminology the reader won't know until later on. In fact, the protagonist doesn't even know while she hears them being used. Clary Fairchild also makes insane and unrealistic assumptions about everyone. Like in Magnus Bane's party, she sees her best friend Simon dancing with a Shadowhunter named Izzy.
She was looking at him as if she were planning to drag him off into a corner to have sex. Clary hugged her arms around herself, her bracelets clanking together. If they dance any closer together, they won't have to go off in a corner to have sex.
First of all, this is problematic as it doesn't clarify what makes her assume this, and these two characters have only met just recently. Also, this is very inappropriate since these books are targeted to middle school students. Another issue I have with the writing is the Institute lets a former rogue Shadowhunter who allied with the enemy and is still under house arrest tutor teenagers. Also, there isn't much information hinting at him being a villain until the end. Characters. There isn't much character development, and the characters are very similar to Harry Potter characters. Valentine is a watered-down Voldemort-style villain with some similarities to Lucius Malfoy. Clary is just Ginny Weasley with a pinch of Hermione mixed in. Jace Wayland, her boyfriend, is like Draco Malfoy, except he's a little less annoying and doesn't have any of the stereotypes of a rich kid like Draco. And there's Alec Lightwood, who's like Harry Potter. There's a few characters I like, such as Isabella, a warm-hearted and seductive Shadowhunter. And Magnus Bane, a warlock who's pretty cool, but he has a very small part. Themes. The novel lacks deep themes. The main theme is self-discovery, although it doesn't have many deep messages about it. Throughout the entire book, Clary realizes that she is more important than she realizes. Entertaining value. It's pretty entertaining at some points, such as the romance between the main characters. However, it adds some relationship drama with them finding out their brother and sister in the end. However, the third book of the series reveals Jace isn't Valentine's biological son, but rather part of a separate family called Herondales. It has some entertaining parts with flying motorcycles. It has some cool monsters. However, the battles aren't written very well and it's very hard to figure out what's going on. Luckily, the film and TV adaptations have done a little better with fight scenes. Entertainment-wise, this book is enjoyable to read. Overall, I give the book a 2 out of 10 for writing, 3 out of 10 for characters, 2 out of 10 for themes, 2 out of 10 for plot, and a 5 out of 10 for entertaining value. Overall, it gets a 2.8 out of 10. Full of bad execution and lackluster storytelling, City of Bones is a rocky start to the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I give it an Unbound Beartic approval rating of Donate It.